Jesus, falling in love with Jesus was the best thing that I ever done. Now everybody sing. Falling in love with Jesus. Everybody sing. Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus was the best thing that I've ever done. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. In his arms I feel protected. In his arms, never disconnected. In his arms I feel protected. There's no place that I'd rather be. Everybody sing. Falling in love. I'm falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus was the best thing that I ever done. I'm falling in love. Makes me wanna sing the best thing that I ever done. Whoa, in his arms I feel protected. In his arms, never disconnected. In his arms I feel protected. There's no place that I'd rather be. Now everybody sing. Falling in love. I'm falling, yeah, yeah. Falling in love. Oh, yeah. Hear me when I say, hear me when I say, what's the best thing that I ever done? Best thing that I ever. Best thing that I ever done, yeah. What's the best thing that I ever Greetings, everyone. This is Pastor Errol Williams here. I'm so excited once again to be with you and with my amazing brothers, Pastor Rob Clark and Brother Errol Lynch. I'm so excited because I'm not alone tonight like I was last night. I was so tired last night. I just could not understand what happened. But tonight I am in the house with my two brothers. They're my favorite brothers tonight, actually. They're my favorite brothers tonight. Don't tell anybody I said that, please, just in case I get myself into a lot of trouble. But I am excited to be here with you. Just to remind everyone, just before we go over to Pastor Rob and Brother Errol, and Brother Errol will tell you what's going to happen tonight. I just want to remind us that we are streaming in quite a few places, so thank you very much. The best place to be is on we always say in Zoom. Don't forget, we are monitoring 3 chat rooms, which is Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. So please, if you want to participate in terms of commenting, please head on over to one of those 3 chat rooms. Please, I really would appreciate that. So let me head on over to where all the fun is taking place tonight. Hey, good to see you guys, man. I'm so excited. Last night I was so tired, but tonight I get some rest. Brother Rob, why don't you say hello then, Brother Errol?
Good night, as they say, or good evening for those, and good morning for those watching it later in the morning tomorrow and whatever else. It's a pleasure to be on this evening. Like Pastor Errol, I seem to have a bit of energy, joining this platform. But an hour or so ago, I was probably a bit tired, is the honest truth. But looking forward to tonight's topic, and looking for the interaction and the participation from those watching live as well. So, yeah, God bless you all. And yeah, looking forward to this evening.
Brother Earl, go ahead, sir, and tell us what's happening as
Yeah,
well tonight.
I will. I will. Good evening and welcome everybody to this broadcast. It's indeed my pleasure to be on with the formidable Pastor Errol Williams and the amazing Rob Clark.
Oh yeah, the
You
amazing
know,
Rob
so
Clark.
Mm.
Have you gone off again, Brother Earl? You're muted. I don't know what you're doing to your sound system over there, but you're muted again. So I'm gonna probably have to ask you to go off and come back on again, because and go off and come back on again for us. Just go out and come back
Well,
in, and then
while he's doing that, Pastor Errol, I've got to share a story if you don't mind. While
yes,
Brother
of
Earl
course, of
goes
course,
away
of
from that,
course, of course,
because
yeah.
Brother Earl and we bumped into each other. What day was it? It was last week. I think it was last Thursday at a wedding in Birmingham. And so I have to say congratulations to Sharon Byfield and Owen Shakespeare, who got married last Thursday. And it was a great
Yes,
privilege, honor to be there. But Brother Earl and I, we managed to speak to each other at the reception. And the reception, by the way, guess where? It was at it was at a castle. It was at the Warwick Castle.
right.
So we were just talking. And it's amazing that this platform goes out to so many people. And, and I'm sure you're the same. You can be somewhere and somebody greets and talks to you and they know you, but you've never seen that face before, but they know your face. And that was the situation I think Brother Earl was in on that day. He was telling me he went to get a snack somewhere, I think after the church, and they were telling him about not taking too much on, not putting too much on his plate because men's health is important. So he kind of asked them, well, how do you know me and about men's health? And go, oh, we watch you, every fortnight and so on and so on. So we just want to greet everyone who consistently watches. And I have to say, there's some elders as well, I've had phone calls saying, they really appreciate the content. We talk about health. And I think last time we talked about the prostate in particular. And it's not just the men that are suffering, but their partners, watching them going through that as well. So, it's just a reminder that, the things that we talk about, yes, it's a men's thing this evening, but it's impacting the whole family,
Yes.
wives, and so on. So I just wanted to share that while Brother Earl did what he had to do.
Sort himself
bless
out
you, Rob.
again.
Bless you, Rob. All right. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Over to you. Over
All
to you.
right,
Introduce
that's
yourself and let us know what's happening tonight.
I think Rob's done it all. I mean, so yeah, greetings, everybody. It's great to see you. And Rob, you're absolutely right. We have no idea just how far this broadcast goes. I was refused 2 curry patties last week. Brother Earl, you can't have 2 patties. You can't have that. So yes, Sister Julie. Yes, Brother Trevor. I remember you. Even though I didn't know you at the time, I know you very well now. And I've since met husband again at one of our regional men's health events where he kept telling me about men's health, men's health, men's health. So I'm delighted actually because not only did he say I can't have 2 patties, but he knew that we were broadcasting men's health this month. And that's really where we're going on today's discussion and today's topic. One of the things that we did on Saturday when we had this Region 4 men's health event, we connected to what we said during the end of convocation when we talked about the 3 portfolios that we have. Pastor Errol, you're doing leadership. Well, in the Region 4 area, Brother Ray Wembley, he'll be doing leadership, and he's dying to talk. My next brother is Brother Mark Russell, and he
Mm,
will be doing engagement and how to get men involved in men's ministry.
mm,
My remit will be to do with men's health generally. Now, I'm going to be taking both physical health and also mental health.
mm,
Now, I know, Rob,
mm,
you're doing mental health on a national level, but I've got that portfolio on a local level. Now,
That's fine.
one of the things that we're going to do is I know, Rob, I'm encroaching on your area tonight, but men's health and mental health is such a big topic that often what happens in the mind precedes what happens in the physical body. So, what you're going to hear me talk about tonight is how do we spot signs of depression in men? How do
mm,
we know when they're going off the rails? And more importantly, what can we do as Christian men to encourage them to go and see a professional? Because we're not
mm,
doctors, we're not counselors, we're not psychotherapists. And yes, we can refer people to Dr. Jesus, but
mm,
they need some signposting and they need befriending. Now, you'll remember last week we talked about men don't make health their priority. When we did that survey, and we've since done more people in the survey, and the results are still coming out the same, more men would focus on being a good father rather than a healthy father.
mm,
So we're going to explore some things tonight, which take it one stage further. Realizing that men don't put health high up on the health list, what do you do when you start seeing some men with signs of depression? So I'm going to use this acronym from the British Association of Counselors and Psychotherapists. They've got a piece of literature that's just come out November 2023. So this is brand new, and I'm going to share it with you, and it will help you to spot when there's depression in men. And if you can catch them early enough, maybe you can signpost them and do something about it. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. All right. So I don't know if you want me to
amen.
do it now,
Go
Pastor
straight
Errol.
in, go straight in.
Oh,
Don't keep the people waiting too long.
okay, I won't. I won't. So I want to open this up and make it a bit interactive towards the end. But I'm just going to take a few minutes to say what this is: spotting the signs of depression in men. The British Association of Psychotherapists have properly researched this, and they've given us a document, a PDF document. And if you want to have a copy, we'll make it available for you either via the website or we'll send it to you via email. So just make it known to us that you want to receive it, and you'll be able to have this for your own selves. Like I said, it's brand new. And what they've done is they've taken this acronym of RAISE, RAISE, and every one of those letters gives you a sign that you should look out for when looking at men, particularly. And I'm going to go through each one, and Errol's going to help me. Pastor Errol's going to help me by just going to the appropriate pages. So let's start with the R. With the R. Right. You will know that a man is potentially getting depressed if you see them taking unnecessary risks. So R is all about risk taking. Now, what we're going to do is every one of these letters that I go through, you will see that there's a pattern which follows. So I want you to start thinking about the possible discussion that we can have in a few moments. Have a look at the next page, Errol, the very next page. Because with risk taking, you might see people doing this. They're thrill seekers or thrill seeking. They might do thrill seeking behaviors, which can normally mask as a lack of interest in structure or in a person's life. When an individual has what they consider to be an uninteresting life, they may engage in risk taking behaviors. Now, I've seen it myself when I've been driving various people home in Birmingham in particular. They do what we call cruising on the dual carriageways. And I've had it on two occasions where cars have been coming towards me on the dual carriageway. It's happened twice, and the driving is erratic. So you never know. People who do risk taking like that may be actually suffering with depression because the real life is so uninteresting that they have to spice it up with something special like cruising, or it may be drinking games or drug taking games. Now, there's a whole stack of things that can go into this. I'm not going to go into detail in every single one, but I just want to highlight under every one of these, there's an agenda. There's things that happen that enable you to recognize it. Now, how it manifests. If you go to the very next slide, Errol, how it manifests itself, you'll see it in impulsivity, maybe violence on and other extreme behaviors, maybe antisocial behavior or acts of bravado where people want to pick a fight. Maybe they, like driving fast, like I said, or gambling, or even getting into a fight. Yeah, man, come on, go fight them, fight them, fight them. Or even a lack of concern for their own safety. They might take all those kind of unnecessary risks. So if you see these types of behavior, what do we do? So if you go to the very next slide there, Errol, the very next one says, these are the top tips. So it says, know what your triggers are if it's you, distract yourself when you feel triggered, or structure and give yourself some routine. Now go to the next one, Errol. Now, whilst those are the top tips, here's a key thing. It says, this is when you should see a therapist. It's time to see a therapist when you find it hard to recognize these behaviors as negative or harmful, or if other people are recognizing that the behavior is damaging. If people around you are worried that you are being a danger to yourself if somebody else, or if you're unable to consider the consequences of your actions, it's important to seek qualified help. Now, I'm just going to stop there for a sec. What did we say last week? We said last week that men will not see doctors or health professionals. And if you think they're going to go in to see a psychotherapist or a counselor, you've got another thing coming. We know from the study that we did 2 weeks ago, I beg your pardon, that ain't going to happen. So at every time we do one of these, my suggestion is we as Christian men, we can spot probably better than the professionals can when we see this in our local community, when we see it in our local churches, and particularly when we see it with our own children or their friends. So this is an opportunity for us as men's ministry leaders, as men, friends, as fathers, as husbands. If we spot this kind of behavior, we should help that person get signposted to a professional. They probably won't want to do it themselves, but with you hand-holding them, they stand a much better chance of seeing a professional. And that's going to be my message after every one of these characters that we look at, that we don't let it go by blindly, that we actually play a proactive role and we have a chat to the person who we may know, but we recommend that they connect to somebody who can help, including Dr. Jesus. Probably Dr. Jesus first, but there's other professionals that we can point them to as well. So that's the pattern for letter R. If we go on to the A now. So R is for risk taking. You will know that somebody's depressed if they take unnecessary risks. I don't know about you, but I've seen this one a lot. Some young men particularly, they might be somewhat isolated and all of a sudden they get really angry. Anger is a sign of depression. If you go to the next slide there, Errol, very quickly, you'll see that with anger, we get these behaviors. It's an emotion characterized by feeling of frustration, irritation, hostility, rage, targeted towards someone or even ourselves. We've said before now that usually this is targeted to the ones that they love and care about. It may well be to a member in the family, maybe to a brother, maybe to a sister, often to the mom and dad. So, where you're seeing signs of anger, this could actually be a sign of depression. Just see how it manifests itself, Errol. I think there's a slide after this, how it manifests. The physical manifestations, you may see signs like clenched fists, tensed muscles, raised voices, aggressive posture with anger, emotional suppression. You may have been conditioned to suppress your emotions, including anger, which can lead to an internalized expression of anger. It's almost like they internally explode inside themselves. So, again, if you see these behaviors, you can go to the slide there, Errol, where it says seek a therapist, where it says seek, there you go. And the next one again, seek a therapist, I think it says. There you go. When to see a therapist. It's important for you to seek help when anger becomes chronic, uncontrollable, or starts affecting relationships or work or physical health. When your feelings are becoming overwhelming and they affect your life in a negative way and impact the lives of others around you, it's time to seek qualified help. I'll say it again. What did we say 2 weeks ago? Men often do not see professionals. They put their health right down at the bottom of their priority list. We as Christian men, if we can see these men or see friends or see relatives who are unnecessarily angry, we can step in and we can either signpost them or guide them to how they can get some professional help, or we'll refer them to Dr. Jesus. Errol, let's go to the next one, which is I. I stands for isolation. I don't know about you, but I've seen many men, particularly, they just separate from everybody else, particularly young men. I've had a couple of men referred to me for coaching, and they will often find themselves locked away in their bedrooms with their computers. And we don't see them for hours and hours and hours. They're just staying up night after night, getting engaged with computer games and often talking to people abroad, but sometimes not even talking at all. And they're living a life of isolation. If you just go to the next page there, Errol, isolation, what does that look like? Isolation involves men who are often told to be strong, to hide their emotions and never show their vulnerability. They put on a brave face and they're told, man up, and often um, pretend to the world that they're fine. They bottle their emotions, suppress them, and they just get on with it. But that's where the problems begin. Those painful feelings are internalized, and this can have a damaging effect. I think I've mentioned to you before now that in the last 5 months, I've lost two people, significant people, who have been isolated, or one of them, at least that I know of, was isolated. And I see these things. As a result, men may withdraw from their loved ones and cut themselves off from friends. Isolation is characterized by a sense of loneliness, disconnection, and withdrawal from social interactions. Errol, if you go to how this, yeah, you get this emotional stoicism. Stoicism is, they hide their feelings and they try to be strong. They try to adhere to the traditional masculine roles. This makes it challenging to detect the emotional struggles that are actually going on within them. That you might even see some men become increasing in their workaholism. They just throw themselves into the job more and more. You may immerse yourself in a work in work to avoid dealing with emotional issues. And it has a direct effect on your physical health. You'll see blood pressure being high, greater levels of heart disease and emotional stress. Now, you know what the pattern is. If you go to the last one there, Errol, where it says when to see a therapist, It's important for you to seek help with isolation if it persists for an extended period of time, if it's affecting your daily life, or if it leads to destructive behaviors or thoughts. It is also crucial to seek help if there are physical symptoms or substance abuse. So, isolation is a painful one. Now, this document from the British Association of Counselors and Psychotherapists is saying when you see these things, see a doctor, see a therapist. But we know from 2 weeks ago, and I don't mind repeating myself, that health is on the low end of priorities for men. And therefore, this is where we as Christians within the community, if we see this, there's a proactive thing we can do to step in and signpost them to the appropriate places. They don't have to necessarily take your advice, but it's incumbent upon you to at least put the signpost there and pray for them as well. Let's go to the next one, Errol, which is the S. S stands for substance abuse. And just because we live in Christian households doesn't mean that there is no degree of substance abuse. It could be going on behind the scenes. Just have a look at the next page and let's see what substance abuse looks like, Errol. Substance abuse. Sometimes men can develop an addiction because they're self medicating to avoid, to block, to enhance a feeling. It can be a trauma triggering coping strategy, which takes them away from reality and having to face the true problem going on beneath the surface. Addiction is a very subjective topic, and the reasons for it may vary from person to person. But one of the things that I have noticed, particularly in Caribbean and African families, there is a culture, particularly within the Caribbean and West Indian families, of young men to get involved in smoking marijuana or at least taking some kind of substance which is similar. Watch out for that. Watch out for that because these are mind altering. They are mind altering substances. So we've got to be careful. Any addictive substance or behavior leads to actual changes in the brain, which promotes a natural response for the desire and can lead to losing self-control. With every drug high, there's inevitably a low that follows. The temptation then is to use more to escape the depressive state. I've known people who are so addicted to substances that they'll do anything to get it. I even know one guy who prostituted himself in order to get the money to feed his habit. And if it gets that bad, then you're in a desperate situation because you will rob even your parents in order to be able to feed your habit. Watch out for substance abuse. You know where we're going next, Errol? Let's go to that page where it says when you want to manifest itself. Okay, you'll see it manifesting itself. Substance abuse can manifest itself in different ways. It can start as a seemingly innocent thing, a pleasurable, a recreational use, but can quickly become unwanted and a problematic and painful thing to look at. Defensiveness is what you want to watch out for. You may feel defensive or irritated if you are challenged about your substance abuse. So if we find people are very defensive about their drug taking or their substance abuse, that might be a further sign. Prioritizing substance usages. You may want to engage in addictive behavior over other life activities. I'll tell you straight, I used to play in a band, and one of the top records that we sold was called Smoking My Ganja. And when I was with that group, yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm telling the truth. Those guys would do anything for a draw, anything for another hit, and they would find rituals, any reason to meet with somebody to smoke. It became a way, it became a culture, it became the way, musicians saw us. I hated it. I didn't smoke even cigarettes. So you can imagine leaving the rehearsal room at nighttime and your clothes used to stink of smoke. But, you know, anything to get a smoke, anything to get a hit, the guys would do it. And it wouldn't surprise me that it's still happening today. Let's go to the next page, Errol, where it says seek help from a therapist. We're almost there. Seek help. Right. When to see a therapist? When your physical or mental health are in jeopardy, or you're taking risks associated with substances you're using and causing harm to yourself and others, it's time to seek professional help. Now, you know what I'm going to say? 2 weeks ago, we know that men, generally speaking, won't see professionals. We as Christian men know, if we know or notice these behaviors amongst people we know in our community, within our church, within our family, then we can again signpost them, handhold them, bring them to professional help, or at least pray for them so that they can be delivered. We're almost there, Errol. Let's go to letter E. I don't know about you, but I see this on a regular basis with many men. Exhaustion. They just cannot keep their eyes open. They are absolutely shattered. And you think, well, how can you be shattered? You don't have a job and you're on the computer half of the time. What's going on? This could be a sign of depression. I'm sure that many of you, as you hear me calling these out, you're probably recognizing people within your own local networks and communities. If you go to the next one, Errol, you'll see this is what it looks like when people are exhausted. Exhaustion. While depression is often associated with sadness and hopelessness, it can also manifest itself physically through exhaustion and lack of energy. Exhaustion can be caused by a lack of sleep, a change in routine, or external life stresses. Exhaustion often tends to be related to burnout, which can arise when we don't implement clear boundaries or have never learned how to switch off from work properly. When we feel exhausted or mentally and emotionally, capacities are pushed to their limits. Emotions can make us feel exhausted, and exhaustion can make us feel emotional. They go hand in hand. How do they show up, Errol? How do they manifest themselves? Can you go to that slide, please? Brilliant. Exhaustion can manifest in men in several ways. Burnout from work. You may feel unable to stop thinking about work to the point where you're taking work home and working long hours. This can have a knock-on effect by negatively impacting your relationships with your friends, with your family, and with your loved ones. No longer participating in activities. We said this 2 weeks ago. Not doing your interests, not doing your hobbies, not keeping up with your routines. You may notice yourself not keeping up with several personal hygiene things or day-to-day routines like that. You may also stop participating in activities that you actually love, which include going to church, which include maybe playing music, which maybe include, playing games, irregular sleeping patterns. You may also be unable to get up in the mornings or be suffering with insomnia. Can you just go to that last page there, or where we look at when to see a therapist? You know what my message is going to be here. When exhaustion is impacting your daily life, causing physical or emotional distress, or hindering your ability to cope with work related stresses, a therapist can provide strategies to address burnout or improve your mental well-being. But what did we say 2 weeks ago? You can almost say it by heart now. Men do not put health high up on their priority list. Therefore, we as Christian men, if we spot it in our family, if we spot it in our church, if we spot it in men and young men that we love and care about, we can pray for them or we can signpost them to see a professional. Our role is to handhold them to success. So I'm going to kind of stop right there because you'll see that I've gone through the whole of the characters. R, extra risk taking. A is to do with anger. I is to do with isolation. S is to do with substance abuse. E is to do with exhaustion. These are the signs that you should look out for. They inform us as to whether that individual may be suffering with depression. Catch it early enough, and you may well save them mental health and mental well-being and their physical well-being, and you may actually save a life. Now, we often don't know how can we look for these signs. We often don't know, but here is a great example of what to look for, and more importantly, what to do should you see this behavior. I don't think we've had something as clear and as documented as well as this for a long time. I love this document. And I think if you get a copy of it, you'll at least be able to spot the signs if it's somebody that you love and you care about, that you're concerned about. I'm going to stop there. That's half an hour. And that's what I said I'd give to Pastor Errol and to Pastor Rob. So I just want to put it to you two gentlemen. What's your view?
Let me just before you go to that, let me just welcome a few people in the chat room, and then Brother Rob will take it away with all the tough questions as well that's coming. One second. Blessings, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Brother
Look
Rob,
at that.
brother, yes, look at that. Sister Elaine, thank you so much for joining us. Elaine Taylor, watching from South Wales, Brother Rob. Brother Clive, Yahweh be magnified. Thank you for that. Deacon Stanley, Deaconess Shirley Golden, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your meeting tonight. Silburn is in the house. Seymour is in the
Hey,
house.
Silver.
And yeah, Seymour will be hosting our Illuminate service, Brother Rob, on Sunday.
Awesome.
So look forward to that. And he would like a copy. We'll make sure you get a copy of that. Sister Elaine, thank you very much for joining us. Sister Daphne, blessings. Sister Herman, Sister Herman is all the way from Jamaica. And thank you very, very much for joining with us tonight. We are excited to have you all. Right. I don't see any tough questions, Brother Rob, but it's over to you.
Wow. Well, first of all, well done, Brother Earl. I think it was good. It was good to just listen to those. I think for most of those, it shouldn't be new for many of us, but in the context and as the clarity, as you say, signs of depression. And I think you'll agree with me that just because you're angry doesn't mean you're depressed. But
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
telltale signs of when you're angry, or there's times when you're isolated. Doesn't mean you're depressed, but then there's the extreme isolation, the extreme anger, the constant, the habitual substance abuse and so on. I think that was really good, really clear, telltale signs. And I felt like interrupting you on the first one, but then you said what I was going to ask you, because you put up on the next slide, we must see a therapist. And I think the whole debate that we've had over the years and so on, it boils down to this, doesn't it? That how do we get men to help themselves? And this is not like a new issue. This is decades. This is generation of an issue. So we got to be realistic. Us three can't fix it, but we can help.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
do we can keep on saying and doing. And you mentioned you've got in your region, and I know of all the individuals you mentioned that are on board, and it's really good to hear the names you've mentioned participating. And I think really when I listen to all of those, risk taking, anger, and so on, and even depression, as well as the prostate issues and other things we're going to talk about. How well? You know what? It kind of for me is why aren't we helping ourselves? Why is it generically women are better at seeking medical help than men? So as you were speaking, Brother Earl, I wrote down four things in my opinion, because as you know, I'm no doctor in this field, right? But I
Yes.
go by experience, I go by listening, and using God's wisdom. And there's four things I'm going to just throw out, um, the things that came to my mind. The one reason we don't, and I'm putting myself in this category as well, so I'm not excluding that I'm some kind of whatever, but stubbornness.
Yeah.
Stubbornness, number one. I think that's not every man, but when we don't see, it's because we're stubborn, right?
Yeah.
And there's going to be layers of that. I mean, we'll keep on talking about this in forthcoming sessions. The second one, which is kind of linked to it, pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
each male will have their own type of pride. Yeah, and then the third thing that came to my mind was fear. There's a
Yeah.
fear of the diagnosis, or the fear it's going to be life changing, whatever it may be. And then the last one was they have no faith in the medical help
Yeah. Yeah.
that we're saying to go and. So, in other words, we're saying go to the hospital, but they go to the hospital. In fact, they made things worse in people's opinion, And those are the four things I want to kind of probably study and come back in December and really explore that, and maybe listen to individuals who've got their own testimony, because I believe no matter what we talk about, whether it's about Jesus, whether it's about our health, there's nothing greater than individuals giving their life story of how they felt, and
Yeah.
when they actually went through
Yeah.
that, what they went through, and how they recovered. Because you know what, as much as we say, right, but I know that when you speak this, Brother Earl, you've been involved, as you said, you share, of individuals. Some of it you've gone through yourself. Some of it I've gone through myself. Pastor Rob, have you gone through depression? Yes, I have. Have I gone to a therapist? No. And then I go, why is that? Maybe it's stubbornness. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's fear. Maybe I don't really have faith in, you know. But I think the first thing to recognize in any illness is being aware and acknowledging
Yeah.
what you have,
Yeah.
because you can be in denial, just like being an alcoholic or a drug addict. And so I think it was really good to see these telltales, because it helps us to be aware of telltale signs. Just like when you're driving a car, if you ignore the traffic lights, then you're taking risks, and you're in danger of injuring not just yourself but other people. And so traffic lights are telltales to say stop, slow down, or go ahead. So I think it's going to take some time, for more and more men. But I think what you shared tonight is not just for the men as well. It's obviously for the women, but tonight is specifically geared around the men. I think it's a great signpost and help, to really deal with it. And then lastly, for me, why do we talk about these things, such as depression? Is because it not just impacts you, it impacts the family, and it impacts the community, it impacts others. And that was a reminder for me, really, over the last few weeks, just talking to individuals, the impact we make by sharing and being open, and that's why for some years now I've been very open on how I feel. And when I share, by the way, it doesn't mean that, oh, I've been to the doctors. Sometimes I'm going, you know what, I'm a bit scared,
Yeah.
but hats off you, and just showing that we're human, And just because we're pastors, ministers, or whatever, we have emotions. So just for me to pause here, I really want to explore on emotions on our next in December in terms of mental health, because we can't shy away from our emotions. We are human beings, but what we probably could do more is share on practical things on how to deal with emotions, whether in church, work, wherever you are. There are some great stuff that us three have experienced in our work, that, I am aware of. A lot of people have not experienced, and we take it for granted sometimes. So that's
That's true.
really where I want to go with things like I've learned tonight. So thank you, Brother Earl, for
Oh, you're
sharing
welcome.
this presentation.
Oh, bless
Just
you.
before Brother Errol come back in, I just want to say, please get involved. Let us know what you think about this presentation, especially the men. Do you agree with Brother Rob about pride and fear and stubbornness and no faith in medical profession? What's your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. If you're in Zoom, you can put your hand up and you can speak. We'll turn the mic on for you so we'll be able to hear you. So those of you that's in Zoom, welcome Jevon, welcome Brother Michael, Lewis, thank you for joining us, and Tony over there in Facebook, and Trevor as well. Thank you all for joining us. We've got a lot of men on tonight, so we want to hear from you.
Yes.
So tell
Yes.
us whether or not you think this presentation is on cue. Just type something in the chat room and let Brother Earl know that he was talking gibberish or whatever he was talking, whatever it be. Let us hear, because you might have a different view to what we have, and it doesn't mean that we are right and so on. But I think I wrote down the 4 points, Brother Rob, that you mentioned, and the biggest one for me on the list was fear. It's I really don't want to hear what the doctor have to say.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to hear that dreaded word. I mean,
Yeah.
I have been to the doctors, and I have to admit, I was a little bit concerned or fearful or whatever, the apprehensive or whatever. I just did not want to hear the doctor say to me, guess what, you got 5 weeks to live, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it's I love the 4 points that you made, stubbornness and pride and all that kind of stuff. I think for me would have been fear, but it'd be great to hear what the other men and women have to say. Now, you women, listen to this carefully. Those of you that's got sons, or you've got a man in your life, a uncle or maybe whatever, what have you heard? Are we on the right track? I think, Brother Earl, coming to you now, this is a powerful PowerPoint presentation. And what I love about it is it tells you what the problem is, and it gives you some
Yeah.
solutions.
There
And
you
I
go.
think that's really useful. So we can say to the brothers out there, he that has a ear to hear,
Let him hear.
let him
Yes.
hear. Because this document is, and I think this document is put together the way men like it.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not a book of 900 pages.
No.
It's all in this one. I want you to respond to this. I'm gonna read this, and then you can come in, Brother Aaron. And this is from Jevon. Jevon, thank you very much. He said, "I agree." And Jevon, tell us how old you are, just before I go any further. Just tell us how old you are. I think, Jevon, are you in your 60s, Jevon, or are you in your 20s? I think it's 25. Thank you, Jevon. So Jevon says, "I agree. Men often are self-reliant, believe they can fix their own problems. So when they are dealing with emotions that they can't see to fix, they often will use distraction, coping mechanism,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to deal with the problem, such as
Yeah.
substance misuse,
Yeah.
alcohol, and drug addiction." That's a powerful point. Over to you, Brother Earl.
Jevon, I agree with you 100%. I can't disagree with anything you've said there. I think, Jevon, you're actually not only on the right track, you've gone more specific, and you've said about the drug abuse and the substance abuse and so on. So, Jevon, I am absolutely 100% behind what you just said. I also want to just go back to what Rob said earlier. Rob mentioned that the four reasons: stubbornness, pride, fear, and also not having faith in the medical profession. These are often excuses that we put up as barriers. But the telltale signs that we have, they're there, they're very evident. Now, Rob, you use the analogy of a traffic light. If you get an amber light, I want to use a slightly different analogy. I know that if I'm in my car, occasionally a telltale light will come on the dashboard. I've got one right now. When the weather changes and it goes from hot to cold, my tire pressure light comes on. It says, you need to check your tire pressures. But I see the light and I know it's a telltale light about tire pressure, and I don't pay attention to it. I just let it carry on. But there's going to come a day when it's cold and wet outside and my tires are the wrong pressure, and I'm maybe on the motorway turning a corner and there may be a bit of water on the surface. And if my tire pressure isn't the right pressure, I could aquaplane, I could go onto the side, uh, all sorts of things could happen. God forbid that I should have a blowout. But when did I have the chance to do something about the tire pressure? I should have done it the moment the light came on my telltale dashboard. And you know, the silly thing is, all I would need to do is go to Quick Fit and they would not charge me anything. They just pump my tires up and say, see you again soon. It doesn't even cost a penny. Now, some of us, we have equivalence in our behavior and in our health. So, for instance, some people might see maybe a spot of blood. That's a telltale sign. That tells you go to the doctor. And whilst you're in that early step, go get yourself sorted out. Catch it early. But we are stubborn. We have too much pride. We can be our own doctor to our own self. I got my herbal remedies, that will take care of business. I got no faith in the medical profession. And before you know it, you've got a major problem. Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm now a member of about three different men's groups. And I got one men's group, which is a domino team. And I heard a testimony on Saturday from a guy who's not even a Christian. He's not even a Christian, and he was delivered from a cancer scare. And he's the one who's telling me. He doesn't even know that I'm a Christian. We just play dominoes. I got another group of men. They're also not Christians, really. There's one or two Christians on there, but these guys, they're all about men's health. And I've heard people who have been healed. They've gone to the doctor, even though it's been late, and the doctors have sorted them out. And their whole impression of the medical profession not having the ability to sort them out has been destroyed. I've got friends who have healed as well through the use of the medical profession. And I've also seen it in my own church region as well as nationally, where men have gone to the doctors and they've been treated. And one guy, he's even received treatment and he's absolutely, well, he's going to be clear. He's still got to go for a test to see if he's in remission. But, God, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. So we need to establish faith in the medical profession. God said to us, man's knowledge shall increase. That also increases knowledge for good purposes as well as for negative. So don't be afraid to go to the doctors. That's a real good thing. It's like Dr. Jesus is healing, but it's in the hands of men who have now learned and caught up with a few things that Jesus was doing by miracle in the old days. So,
Amen.
Be bold.
Here's one for your brother. Thank you, brother. Here's one for you, Rob. This is from Tony Walker, and he says that you were so on point. The church has to speak about this issue in the church because men don't talk. And this is from a man. I suppose I think probably, as you keep on saying, men don't talk as much as women.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the point. Go ahead, brother Rob.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and we hear this comment all the time, and we can't disagree. But I think one of my challenging questions is, what is church? Who is church? Where should we, are we talking about Sunday? Are we talking
Mm.
about convocations? Are we talking about what we're doing now? Because the answer in reality is we do talk, but we don't talk enough, it appears, for people to acknowledge it. And so it starts with us, and which is what we're doing tonight. Um, and I think there's certain conversations where what we can do is have a debate, maybe, on a platform, because some of it is sensitive. Some of it can be quite emotional. So we have to kind of, but I think the point that we're making tonight is that if you don't feel well, do something about it. And what we can do on a Sunday is find clever ways to say that without taking the whole
Yes.
service. But then guess what? There's times when men's ministry, for example, can be given a Sunday, because in many churches now it's almost abolished to have a men's ministry. You'll have let me be provoking tonight. I've been provoking in the meeting earlier, but we're all happy to have a women's ministry. But when it comes to men's ministry, the men don't know what to talk about. If you get that, then, give them something to do. Go and treat the Pastor
That's
Errol.
an interesting one. I think that's a topic right there, Rob.
You know what I
That's a
mean?
topic.
Just to cut you there, brother Rob. Just to cut you there, brother Rob. I was in Wembley and the Bishop Pullman for
Yeah,
19 years,
yeah,
and we had the WMB,
yeah,
but
yes.
we never had anything related to
No,
men. We never had it. It was Bishop
no.
Wilton actually who first came up and appointed men's ministry
There you go.
in the Church of the Prophecy. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah. So I agree with the comments made. We need to do more, but it's down to the local pastors. For me,
Yeah, yeah,
we as
yeah.
national leaders, that's one thing, but the local pastors, we need to hear from them, and not just hear from them because they are doing things. So I
Yes.
don't want to accuse local churches of not doing things, but this is where we need to get together. So you'll hear from us, especially in the new year, because we come into a really, festive season now, and the 21 days of prayer. But throughout next year, we want to really be in connection with the local pastors,
Yes.
leaders,
Yes.
and really just try and how do we better promote this? Because we don't have all the answers tonight. But what I do like is this
Yes.
this presentation and the questions that come through it, because it's a
Yeah.
good gauge of where we're at, really. Mm.
Well, Erland, I know you're a man who talk because I know you can talk. And in fact, I get the impression, Brother Earl, that you talk more than your wife. I really do, but could you correct me if I'm wrong? Could you correct me if I'm wrong?
You are wrong.
As a matter of fact, I have a funny feeling. Just before you come in, I have a funny feeling the three of us here probably talk more than our own wives. But oh, Brother Rob says no. Okay, no
I
problem.
don't.
So
No.
I want to hear
No.
from you though, Brother Earl. Do you talk more than your wife, or does she talk more than you?
Right. So I kind of live a double standard of a double life. In my profession, I'm a professional speaker, and
Yes.
therefore I'm expected to speak at various speaking engagements online when we're in public. That's my job. But when I come home, the way I de-stress is I want time alone. And just when I'm ready to just sit down on the settee, put my feet up, then that's when my wife attacks me. She wants to talk. She wants to say her piece. She wants to get things because that's how a woman de-stresses. So so it's not that. She's a professional counselor. So she's
Okay.
talking all day as well. But I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff that she deals with, I wouldn't want to touch that on a regular basis. I mean, the thing that counselors go through, they need to have a supervisor to talk through some of the issues that they've come across. If they don't talk them out, they start to impact their thoughts. It affects their sleep, stress. So sometimes I am that outlet for my wife. So she does speak more than I, and
Okay, okay.
she's very good at it. She's very skilled at it. In fact,
Yes.
she's so skilled at it that she sometimes does it in her sleep.
Hmm.
And my wife says to me that I talk too much, and
No.
I do say to her that I do get paid for talking. You know, the more I talk, the more I get paid. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but I in the relationship, I talk more than she does, which is really strange. So when I hear that men don't talk, it's kind of strange to me because I'm the one that does most of the talking. And when I finish, I
Wow.
can't wait to finish to go and talk. And she said, Errol, every time you talk, you mess up the atmosphere. You spoil. And I would say to her, would you like me to sing? And she would say, absolutely not. So I can't even sing. I can't do any of those things. So I get it. But
Yeah.
I think though, that there is this issue going on. And I think there is a video out there. I'd love to play it one day. It's a long video. It talks about the tale of two brains. I don't know if you've ever heard that video. The
Yeah,
tale of
Mark
two
Ruffalo.
brains. And what it talks
Yeah,
about is the
yeah,
difference
yeah,
between the man and the
yeah,
woman's brain. They're two
yeah,
different
yeah, yeah,
brains,
yeah,
or they function differently, should I say. So what tends to
yeah,
happen is the men don't understand the women, and the women don't
yeah.
understand the men, and therefore there is
It's
that
brilliant. Yeah.
conflict in between. Have you seen that video, Brother Earl?
Oh, you've shown it me many times. I've done it many times myself. I've studied it to a long degree. The man's
Yeah.
name is Mark Gergen. Mark
Mark
Gergen.
Gerg, Mark, that's correct, yes.
He talks about when men have a conversation inside their brains, everything has its compartment and
Yes.
everything is separate. So the mother-in-law is in one compartment, your brother is in one, the car is in another, your job is in another. And what you'll find is that men compartmentalize everything, and we don't want any of the boxes to touch. So we don't want the car mixed up with family. We don't want the family mixed up with the washing machine. We don't want the job to be a mix of what my brother is thinking. But the women, their brains are like a ball of wire. Everything is connected. The washing machine's connected to the job. The job's connected to the family. The family's connected to what you did last Christmas. And when they have conversation, everything comes out. And we hate it because when we're having a conversation, we just want to stick to one channel. That's how we function. And I think the man's description is quite brilliant. I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, go and see Mark Gergen, The Two Brains. It's a brilliant piece of work, and the man is so funny with it. You
Wow.
know, his entire series is about 5 hours long, and I've watched all 5 hours on more than one occasion because it's just so entertaining, so funny, so educational, so brilliant, so much bringing the whole of life into being. I think it's an incredible piece of work. The man is truly blessed. He's got a ministry which I would love to have even a scratch of because it's fantastic how he puts his points across. Really, really good.
While you've just been speaking, I just downloaded 5 minutes of it from the
Ah.
website. I don't know what trouble I'm gonna get into, but I'm just gonna play it for I see what
All
happens
right.
anyway. They
Yeah.
might shut us down, brother Rob, but who knows? We'll take the
Well,
risk.
don't
We'll
say
take the
that.
risk
Yeah.
tonight. So here we
Yeah.
go then. Let's just listen to 5 minutes of it and then we'll be right back.
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right. Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. The money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. And it's like... It's like the internet superhighway, okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's just... It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that and watched the brain activity, then all of a sudden, I think he's dead. Huh? You know, women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing.
Spot on, I tell you.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good to see that again.
That's amazing. I would recommend, actually. I've recommended a lot of couples just sit down and just watch that together. I've recommended on numerous occasions that they do that. But your thoughts, Rob, first on that little clip.
Yeah, that clip's amazing. I mean, there's times when I'm thinking, is it just me? But it feels like every time I want to rest, it's like, no, you're not allowed to. You need to have a problem. You need to be addressing something, And I'm thinking, it's okay not to talk about problems. I don't want to talk about nothing. So I totally get that clip. And the importance, and I think the serious side of it is, because there's a book, is it Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, and so on.
Yes,
So
yes,
there's
yes.
ways of explaining, but I do like the description that men are more logical and women are more emotional, and I hope it's not an offense to the women, but that's how I see it. Because in my sphere, my wife, my children, and I do see a lot more emotion in the church. Just how we look at how we do prayer, and I'm smiling even with that, because how a man will approach a prayer and how a woman approach. A man will solemnly, we're now going to pray for our dear brother or dear sister who's been diagnosed. But, most of us have been in the situation where the woman's praying. There's a lot of crying and all of that. And I'm not saying it's right or right. It's just different, And then to say, come on, men, we need to be more like our women. I don't think that's a fair statement. I think we need
You're
to
right.
recognize who we are, but work with
Yeah.
complementing each other. Whether you,
Yes.
Pastor Errol, are the more talkative one in the relationship or not. It's just working how to complement it, really. But for years, I did go on a council, for my own benefit. And I learned so much about me during the counseling training that it's really important to understand who you are. And I say that because a lot of people kind of point the finger and go, that person is this, that person's that. They're very, but so what? What does that mean to what's the impact to you? And once you can really work out who you are as a husband or as a wife, you can deal with that situation better. But often we're looking at other people as if we haven't got a problem. So I love the way that video just kind of says, well, men, this is how you operate, and I'm going, yeah, 100%, so really good,
Yes.
refreshing.
Just before I come to Earl, I give you an experience I had actually. The pastor before me in Wembley was Pastor Lennox Greenaway, a wonderful pastor, in fact. And one of the things I noticed with Pastor Lennox, whenever he prayed, he would cry and he would shed tears, and that's great. I observed it and I thought it was wonderful. And what I noticed is, as if a lot of people in the church, now that I'm not a new pastor, it seems to me as if they wanted me to do the same thing he was doing. And I had to say, no, I'm Errol Williams. You may never, ever see me crying. You may never hear me crying. Doesn't mean that I don't cry, but that's not me, and so on. I thought that was an interesting point, but, powerful. Your thoughts on that video, Brother Earl?
That is one of my very, very favorite video clips. You found exactly the right spot as well.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Exactly the right spot. I think it was almost word for word what I said a little bit earlier about the boxes shouldn't touch.
Yeah.
And it's true, and I think I forgot the bit about the nothing box. I forgot about that bit. He is so right. He is so right. Sometimes when I've been working in the office and I'm on screen, my body posture is like this. So my shoulders are tight, and I've been like this for hours. And even though I have a few breaks, sitting down in front of a screen doing online work is sometimes debilitating. You're hardly moving. So when I come home, I kind of stretch out and I go into the front room and I go into prayer position. So I want you to imagine I'm in prayer position. My face is down into the seat of the settee and I'm in prayer position. And all I'm doing is I'm rebalancing my posture. I'm letting my legs and my back get some, some rest. Anyhow, Mrs. Lynch sees me in that position, resting, doing nothing. I guarantee she'll either jump on my back, which is already sore,
Yeah.
and she'll say, "Come on, what are you? You're not doing anything, Come." And oh man, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. She wants me to talk then. I've just found 5 minutes to just have a break, just have a rest. And it's so annoying. It's so, oh man, the man got it so right. He's so right. And
Yes,
then the topic,
yes.
when I when I talk to my missus, and I talk to quite a few women, but their ability to connect one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and draw conclusions in their mind. And don't get me wrong, sometimes my wife is correct. She draws the right conclusion. I once took my wife to a film. We went to the cinema. She fell asleep. And then when I took her out afterwards, I said, "You don't even know what happened, do you? Go on, tell me. Tell me what happened." And she, in her mind, pieced all the bits of the film together and came to the correct conclusion. That is actually what happened in the film. And I thought, how do you do it? How do you do it? Because honestly, I don't know. The women, they can often draw some conclusions, they connect things, they see patterns, they see trends. And one last thing, yeah, the way we worship is different as well. The way a woman worships, holy hands, quite emotional, quite vocal, quite loud, quite spiritual, quite in depth. She's having a moment with Jesus right there in the church, and the Holy Spirit is moving. The way a man connects and has a relationship with Christ in that moment, we want to do stuff. We want to get busy with our hands. We don't want to shout out loud necessarily. And when a man does actually do that vocal stuff, or has an overdose of the Holy Ghost, I call it, it looks so strange, and it looks so scary. It frightens the children, and you find that other brothers don't want to come anywhere near you if you've had an experience like that. So the way we worship is different. And Rob, I think you hit it on the head. We shouldn't try to necessarily be non-authentic and try and worship like a woman would worship. We're different. And I think if you look behind the scenes, men just like to do stuff. Give a man an audio visual desk, or a light, or a microphone to control, or a fader on a 16 or 32 channel desk. Oh yeah, even me talking about, give a man a keyboard that he can play on, or give him a drum or percussion instrument or a guitar to play. Yeah, man, you'll see a man worship then. You'll see a man worship then, and he will worship with gusto. He will worship with passion. But when you ask him to pray out loud and connect to the Holy Spirit, it's just different. It's not that we're not Christian. Yeah, we are, but Christ impacts us differently. We should pay attention to that. We're not the same.
Yes. Men is not women, and women is not men. It's just the way
Right.
that we are. Just a few thoughts from Facebook. Thanks to those of you that's Facebook. Emma, welcome Emma, and Henry. Thank you for joining us as well. Sister Murdell, Patricia, and Rosalind. So many of you over there. Trevor, thank you all very much.
What's Trevor saying? What Trevor said?
Trevor,
I'm
what
sure
did Trevor
Trevor's the
say?
main man. He's the man who stopped me on Saturday.
No, Trevor
On
said
Thursday last.
you were so on point. That was the one I read earlier. Henry says,
Okay.
yeah, that is from a pastor from Wisconsin in USA. Then
Come
the
on.
man has what he calls a nothing box, where a man sits and thinks about nothing. That's our favorite boxer. That is amazing. But just wanted to, as we come down, we just got a few minutes, and maybe 2 minutes each, just to your closing thoughts about tonight. I really love this presentation. I really do, because it's designed just the way men like it. Actually, really
Yeah.
simple but compact. Got everything in it. The problems, the solutions, the answers, and things like that. Whether or not we will seek therapy, I don't know. But let's start with you, Brother Earl, and then we go to Brother Rob, and 2 minutes each, and then we will try our best to close out. So let's go to Brother Earl Lynch first.
Okay. Well, my main thing from this is, yeah, I agree with you, Errol. It's a very good document. I'm planning on using the template format for other things as well. But my wife and I, we went through this document quite in detail on Saturday. And the one thing that I did notice from it was that every time it said seek help from a therapist, that's when I got this little disconnect. And I thought, you know what? From what I said a couple of weeks ago, men won't go to a therapist, they won't do it. But then almost immediately, God spoke into my spirit and He said, that is the gap, that is the space for men to occupy. We know people in our community, we know people in our family, we know people in the church where they are not well, either mentally or physically. Sometimes they may be doing things that we've noticed. Now, take it in mind, we know that we don't put health very high up on the agenda, and we certainly don't see Christ as a solution for many of the problems that we experience today. But we know as Christians, Jesus is the answer. So I think there's a role now for men who are members of the church, members of men's ministry, to be able to recognize people in our communities, those who are near and dear to us, and to have conversations with them and to lead them to, first of all, to Christ, to lead them and to care for them by literally inviting them to go to the doctors. I had a word with a pastor the other day at the wedding on Thursday that Rob and I were in, and we were having a general chat. And the brother said to me, the pastor said to me, he was just over 50 years old, just turned 50. And the doctor that he went to see wasn't his usual doctor. It was a doctor from the West Indies. And the doctor from the West Indies, after he'd done the initial consultation, said to him, how old are you? And he said it with quite authority, with quite a lot of authority. How old are you? And the guy said, I'm 50 years old. He said, have you had a well man check yet? And he said, no. He said, right, next week I'm booking you in. Tell me which day you're free. And the man said he was so surprised that the authority voice of the doctor was telling him to book an appointment for next week to have a PSA, a prostate specific antigen blood test, that he thought, oh my goodness, I better not argue with him. So he got his diary out on his phone and he booked the appointment there and then. He came the following week, he had the blood test, and his blood test was perfectly all right, and he didn't have to do anything for a year. And the thing was, the relief it gave him was incredible. But the reason it was incredible was because that doctor didn't mess about. The doctor said, are you over 50? Are you married? Next week, book an appointment, come and see me. You're having a blood test. You're going to measure your PSA. You're going to have a well man check. I think we as Christian men, don't get me wrong, we have to be very careful. We have to be as wise as serpents, as harmless as a dove. We can take that authority position with some men that we know and love and care about in the community. And we can tell them, look, are you suffering with this? Have you got any of this going on? I recommend that you go and see a doctor. I recommend that you come to church. Give them the invite, signpost them, be brave. Now, don't get me wrong, we're sometimes going to get it wrong, but often we don't invite people to church. We don't invite people to Christ. We don't invite people to look after themselves. I remember Rob Moreau, who wrote Why Men Won't Go to Church. He says half the reason why men won't go to church is because we don't invite them. So I'm saying, men, come on, let's get proactive. Let's invite some people. Invite some people to church. Invite some people to talk to Dr. Jesus. Invite some people to go and see a health professional. Invite somebody, if they're married and they're over 50, to go and have a well man check. Invite people to do the right thing. You be the hand holder that leads them to do some action, which is probably going to look after themselves. Even having conversations like this, somebody might pick up on this message, and they may just decide to go in and have a check. It might save a life. So that's my mission for the next 12 months. I just want to inspire and encourage men to do the right thing and to help other men to get more healthy. That's my message.
Man, over to you, Brother Rob.
Yeah, good message. Just want to encourage us men, keep talking. And the 4 points I raised earlier, you know, are you stubborn? Do you have pride? Are you fearful? That's why you don't want to seek medical help. Or, as Brother Errol put it, do you have the excuse you don't have any faith in the medical professionals? Because we want to really challenge all of that. And as I said earlier, it's one thing talking, but we need to do. But talking is important, and especially when we're sharing stories. Uh, and as a pastor of my church, I like to be open with my leaders in the church. And you have to find your own environment where you feel safe and comfortable to do that. And I say all that to say that, you know, I was diagnosed as diabetic maybe 11 years ago. And some of the things that Earl presented today was on my checkbox, my tick box at the time, especially exhaustion. But that was a symptom of diabetes. But guess what? Often, you know, I still feel tired. And it's because, as Errol says, sometimes we're working too hard. And it might not be because, you know, like me and like others, we do full-time work, we do pastoring, and we do other stuff as well as the family. And it could be tiring. It can be depressing and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is that it's good to talk, men. Be open. If you can't speak to your wife, find somebody you can confide in. But be aware of your emotions. Be aware how you feel. As an over 50, I took the PSA test, you know, and I have to be honest, the reason I did do it is because a few years back, the only way to do the test, from what I understand, was somebody physically checking you. And I didn't like the idea of that. It didn't feel natural. I'll be honest. But now technology's improved and got better. It was a no-brainer. But guess what? It wasn't easy for me to even do that test. And not because I didn't want to. My particular medical, you know, who I go to, let's say GPs, didn't make it easy for me to apply for a PSA. Had to wait on a particular day, at a particular time, to pick up the phone, to make an appointment. If I miss that slot, I'll have to wait another week. They would not take an appointment over the phone. They told me I have to wait on a Monday between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock to make. It's crazy. And even when I took the test, I expected a phone call to say it was positive or negative. None of that.
You don't get that.
You know, so not everybody's situation is the same, but don't make that be your excuse. Your health is your health. And then the last thing for me, most men men who have a car, I can almost guarantee you understand what an MOT is and what a service is on your car. Let's not prioritize your car over your own body, and recognize that you need to do your own MOT and service on your body. Yeah. We don't ask, and I'm generalizing tonight, we don't ask our wives to take our car to the MOT station. I'm generalizing. So why do we then expect our spouses to do that for our own bodies? If we just think about that and reflect on that, stubbornness, pride, fear, or no faith, we need to overcome that so that we can be of good health, good fathers, good leaders, husbands, pastors, as long as we can. You know, so it's really down to you as an individual. And women, ladies, please continue to encourage your spouses and other men and family members. So God bless you. Great night tonight. Thank you again, Brother Earl, for the presentation.
Amen. Well, thank you both again for another amazing evening. And I hope that everyone was informed about something at least that we can do. Thank you so much, Brother Jevron, for your comment and Zoom and all those comments as well. Facebook. Great to see Word of Life Centers watching, and Deborah and John. Great to see you all. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back here on the 2nd and 4th. I'm not so sure about the 4th Wednesday in December. I'm not so sure that they will have permission to come and join me. I'm trying to see what date that is, the 4th. Let me just have a quick look and see whether or not the 4th one is, I think it's the 20th. So, the 27th, I think. So, I'm not so sure if I'm going to be here neither, because my wife is going to be 60 and the 29th, 60. So, I'm looking forward to that. She tells me it's just another day, so I don't believe her, but that's what she tells me. But guys, thank you very much. I wish you guys all the best for Christmas as it comes. Can you believe we're talking about Christmas already? Absolutely amazing. But thank you very much.
Maybe one thing, Pastor Errol, but next year maybe, because one thing we didn't talk about was Movember, and it'd be great. Maybe next year we can plan something around that. Maybe.
Yes,
don't know what I'm talking about, but the prostate cancer we spoke about. Maybe next year we can promote that.
Yes,
and it's interesting, Errol. This is so it just gone was International Men's Day. So
Sunday,
International Men's Day. Maybe we can do something for next year.
Definitely. Well, gents, I know that we're supposed to be focusing on mental health, so Rob will still do that anyway. And if you need another time in January, then we will do that as well. But great. Thank you very much. And Brother Earl, make sure you share your nothing box. All right, take care, guys. See you guys soon, okay? See you guys soon. Blessings to you both. Thank you very much for joining us. Blessings. Wow, what an amazing evening that was. And I'm grateful to everyone that took the time to be with us, wherever you're watching from. Those of you that's watching from YouTube or Facebook or Zoom, Twitch, or wherever you're watching from, we do appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. What a topic tonight that we had the opportunity to share about. And I must say it's a wonderful document. We'll be sharing it with the men from our local church at least, and passing it around. And let's go from there. We can only continue to encourage, support, and to educate and inform men about things that's going on. One of the things that I learned, Brother Errol mentioned this, I think last 2 weeks, that 1 in 4 men will get prostate cancer. 1 in 8, will get prostate cancer. That's pretty high. The figures are very high. 1 in 8. However, in the Caribbean, black men of color, it's 1 in 4. 1 in 4. If prostate cancer is caught early, it can be treated easier and better. So, one of the things we ought to bear in mind is that when we die, somebody else has to bury us. And that's where we should think about, is the people that's going to bury us. I was listening to a brother speak once, and he said that when he dies, he wants it to be a real tragedy. So as a result of that, he has no life insurance. And so having no life insurance, he wants it to be a real tragedy. Well, it will be, because if you have nothing set in place to bury you, your loved one's going to have to do that. And that's a tragedy in a sense, when we have to try and find 20,000 to bury you, or 10,000 to bury you, whatever the case might be. So we ought to be responsible in that sense. So we have a lot to think about and a lot to do. I want to thank Brother Errol for that amazing presentation, and just to remind us of those amazing points that were raised, and they're tremendous points actually, and I am so blessed, and I think I won't forget this acronym, this memory aid that was used, RAISC. So let's just run through them very quickly so that we are on the same page. Risk taking. I love the way Brother Earl explained it. Taking risk or unnecessary risk, maybe the way we drive, or the speed we drive at, and things like that. That's really well explained. Anger, which is the second point that was raised, and becoming just very angry and very irritable easily. And these are signs. If you see these signs in you, then you know that one should look for help. One should seek help, whether it be a professional or a friend or somebody, but one should seek help. We should be responsible individuals in that sense. Isolation, just wanting to be on our own. It's not. I don't think it's the same as the nothing box. We're talking about isolation. Just wanting to stay in your room, locked away, have no connection with other people. It's really important because we're social people, and we are to connect with others. So that's very, very important. And this is the one that gets me actually, was the substance abuse. And if you're involved in substance abuse, whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever it be, it's time to be responsible. Be a responsible individual. Seek help. There are some things that you can easily deal with by yourself. As a man, you can easily deal with it by yourself. But there are some that we need help, and we have to own up to that. I have to own up to the fact that I'm 64, but I need to be humble enough and not, as Brother Rob talks about, allow pride to stop me from, seeking help. So substance abuse is very, very important for us to adhere to. Exhaustion, and this is a good one actually, because we need our rest, right? And exhaustion can be a dangerous thing. You're just exhausted all the time, or most of the time. And this is really, really good. So thanks to Brother Errol for bringing this to our attention. Now that we have it, let's do something with it, okay? Thank you all very much. And tomorrow is Thursday. That's right, Thursday. And my focus tomorrow will be on the book of Romans. Can you believe that we started this around a year ago, and I'm now on Romans chapter 14. So looking forward to continuing with that. So join me for tomorrow. And don't forget, I've been promoting widely the idea of certain technology in churches that you can use to enhance the local church that you're part of. I talk about things like Canva. I don't know if many of you heard of that. I talked about Canva. I talk about DaVinci Resolve. Find out about these. These are free software. I talk about Grammarly, to help your writing skills and things like that. That's free as well. They got paid version of all of those, but the free versions will help you greatly. And then my favorite. Unbelievable, my favorite. I'm going to show you something, if I can find it quick enough, that I did on my favorite website in the world ever. And it's just amazing. I don't know if I found it. Yeah, there it is. And I've got a new hobby now. I've got a new hobby, and I'm just so excited about this new hobby that I have, and it's what I call my creative studio. I call it, and it's using ChatGPT to create art like this. This is truly phenomenal. Wow. This is really beautiful. Absolutely amazing. So I'm into one of my new hobbies at the moment is my creative studio. So I'm going to produce these every other day, at least for the next 12 months. So should have my own studio of around 100 plus photos in the next year or so. And just generating these, and you can do it. Well, you can't do this for free, by the way. Well, you can in different software, but it's using things like ChatGPT. That's my favorite website right now. It's the most powerful thing I've ever come across on the internet. Never seen anything like it. Just another planet, another world. And I use it every day. Somebody asked me, how often do you use ChatGPT? And I say, well, nearly every hour. I live in it. It's on my phone as well. You know, in the car, when I'm in the car, I talk to ChatGPT just like I talk to Brother Robert or Brother Errol. So I have that dialogue going on with ChatGPT over any subject I want, health-wise, men's issues, women's issues if I want, whatever. Whatever. I could talk about the moon, the sky, the stars, and whatever. So I go through using that software, and it's just amazing. So now I've gone into my next hobby. Well, you know, as you know, I've been playing a lot of chess. You know, I play chess every night, by the way. In fact, I was just playing chess just a moment ago, actually, and I won the game quite easily. So I'm a great chess player. I play backgammon all the time as well. So I have to have these hobbies that I do to keep me preoccupied away. So my new hobby is I call it Creative Studios. So looking forward to that. As soon as I get to around 20 photos, I'll share the gallery with you, and you can just go and see. And one of the things I'm doing as well is I'm putting motivational thoughts to it so that it just brings it out that much more. And yeah, this is amazing. I've got it on my website. Let me see if I have my website available here. I think this is my website right here. So if I reload the page, for example, hey, there you have it. So I've just got this, and then you can go and see what I've written there. So this is my creative studio on my website, but it's just the start. That was the first one. So hopefully I want to put another one later today or tomorrow. But this is looking really great. So if you want to see more about my website, you want to find out more about Errol Williams, go to errolwilliams.org. And there you'll find what I've been up to and what I do and how I do it. Well, it's been an honor and a privilege tonight to share with you all. I look forward to being here with you tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining with us. And the good news, when you go to the website, you can also leave a comment. You know, you can just go right down to the bottom there and you can leave a comment, or you can actually look at other, you know, quotes that I've put up, and absolutely amazing quotes, actually. So thank you very much. I hope you've gained something from tonight, and it's been a blessing to you. Take care of yourself and your family. Until next time. Bye for now.